Welcome to another edition of Africa Sideways. My name's Big Six Simpson and we're coming to you from the Peugeot Landtrek, a very, very interesting bakkie. Now, this is the first time I've driven this bakkie, which has been making some waves in South Africa. Well, different kind of waves, not necessarily sales waves. They haven't sold many of these at all, but it got voted in for the two nominees for Car of the Year this year, along with this Navara, which I found to be quite peculiar given the sort of Toyota Hilux, Wrangler, Isuzu, Triton competition. But then Peugeot offered me a drive of it, and I thought, let me see what all the fuss is about. And you know, I'm pleasantly surprised. It's based on a Chang'an Chinese partnership with Peugeot, so it's from what I'm understanding, it's the hardware is Chinese and the software, the sort of seats, the LCD screen, the sort of luxury touches of Peugeot, which I think is a great combination. The low range knob looks like it's out of an Isuzu, so I find that quite interesting. And it does have the 1.9 litre turbo diesel, which is the same size as you find in the Isuzu D-Max. I find this one to be a little bit more perky. Here we are in a little gravel section, and one of the first things you notice in the car is a very smooth ride. Very, very, I mean, not smooth ride, but hard ride as well. So if I had one of these, I'd be tempted to run the tires at, say, 2 bar, a little bit softer, just to make up for the stiff suspension. I would say that the suspension does feel Chinese. I don't want that to sound like Chinese is an inferior product, but generally speaking, I find the Chinese suspensions can't quite hang with the Japanese suspensions yet. The engines are starting to get up to speed, but the engines are starting to get up to speed. The gearboxes are starting to get up to speed as well. I'm very impressed with this automatic gearbox. So they haven't cut any corners there. And if I had to get this or a P series, which is about the same price, 600,000 Rand, this feels like it's more tied together. I think pairing up with a premier European brand like Peugeot, you get a bit more quality control. So this doesn't feel too out of place in South Africa. It feels like it was actually designed for South Africa. Got the Goodyear Wrangler tires on proper tires, 18-inch rim. They haven't gone for massive rims and low profile. So really have ticked a lot of boxes. Over 700 kilometer range on here, so they haven't put a Mickey Mouse fuel tank in. The fuel tank's a respectable 80 liters, which is what you need as a minimum for South Africa, so they got that right. And so with a 1.9 litre, I'm getting over 700k range. So that's very impressive. I mean, fully loaded, if that figure's going to go down. That is the big question with this car, is how is it going to perform fully loaded? And it doesn't feel underpowered. It feels a bit more perky than the D-Max with a 1.9 litre, I must say. Brakes are on point. Let's give it a bit of acceleration here. So you are going to get a bit of noise from this engine, but it is a 1.9, it's working pretty hard, but it's not stinky. It's not a smelly engine, which is always a good sign. Brakes are good. Check out the windscreen wipers. Very good lights on this car. I must get a camera on this thing at night. Windscreen wipers work perfectly. Lights are top end on this car. You wouldn't have to put any extra lights to do off-roading, that's for sure. And the blue really pops. The whole car pops. People are interested in it. I think because it's Peugeot and they haven't sent a bakkie out here in decades, that people are a little bit skeptical, but I'm pleasantly surprised. Everything feels well made. It feels like it's made with purpose. They got two nice big cup holders here. Good sound system. I don't think I've got any music. Let's check the radio out. Yeah. A bit of classical music. That's always a good test. There you go, ladies and gentlemen, some beautiful classical music in the background there. Here's a bit of a showstopper, this car. I would like to see the 2.5 version come to South Africa as well, the 2.5 diesel. I think you're going to need a bit of extra power when you're fully loaded. If you're going to do overlanding and long touring with heavy loads or towing. But in terms of city driving and general use, the 1.9 is adequate. I find I took it to a very quiet road out in the bush and checked out some of the faster speeds. Got it up to about 140, and then it doesn't feel so comfortable. It's still a bakkie at the end of the day. If I had this, I'd be actually tempted to put a set of terrain tamer in here. I think would really enhance this bakkie. Terrain tamer suspension, that is. So it is a firm ride. What I am impressed with, it's got rear diff, low range, high range 4 as well. So it's got all the off-road ability that you need from a bakkie. Proper bash plates on the front, Land Rover Defender, which has the plastic one. It's not a typical thing to do. Buttons feel really good on this car, and they got a few auxiliary buttons if you want to use it for other things, fridge and whatnot. The Speedo is interesting. It's typical French. It goes in 20s up to 160, then it goes into 30 km/h increments. Only the French would think of that. Well, it actually makes a lot of sense, because if you think about it, in a Speedo you spend more time between say 100 and 120, so rather have that as a more refined, a more defined Speedo, rather than once you get over there you don't need quite as much information. So how many times are you really going to be going 190? You're never going to be going 190 in this bakkie. I think probably 160 is the fastest you'd like to be going. Which is 40 k's over the speed limit, so I wouldn't suggest that either. So it's got more than enough speed. So who's the sort of person that's going to be buying this truck? Well, I think it's going to appeal to a lot of different people. I'm slowly seeing more and more Peugeots on the road. I think the 3008 is it's really a fine car, and it's going to attract a lot of attention to the brand. And this bakkie is really good. I would like to see what it's like in 5 years' time, because I mean, if they had teamed up with our Suzu, you know, it could be a different game. But I mean, Mazda BT50s are ready, so it's actually nice to have a different bakkie. Yes, one thing I must notice, for bigger people, your leg, if you like leaning your leg out a bit to give your ballast a bit of air, you're going to find this thing is a little bit hard. I would like to, you almost want to have like a little bit of soft cloth or something here just to rest your leg on. They could have made this a little bit wider. But who's going to like this? Housewives are going to like it. Nice and refined in here, easy to drive. It's got a handbrake. Business people. It's a nice looking bakkie. It can also be a workhorse bakkie as well. It could be a farmer's bakkie. But one thing you always worry about with buying imported products is maintenance and parts. So that's something to research in your region, what sort of backup you have from Peugeot. But all in all, for 600,000 rand, this really does tick a lot of boxes. Efficient, capable, perky. It's not going to be able to tow heavy loads, but I think if this does well, they're going to bring the 2.5 litre in, which, you know, should have more than enough power for heavier loads. It's also quite a wide bakkie. I was thinking with the engine size, when I was looking at the specs, that it would be a smaller sort of compact bakkie, but no, this is a full-size bakkie, ladies and gentlemen. And it's got holding. It's got proper tyres on, it's got good clearance, it's got bash plates, so you can get out into the bush on this and have some fun, which is what we're going to do on the public holiday. We're going to head out probably to Elgin with Shauna and the Germany, and we can see, can this thing keep up with the gatekeeper number 2, the Suzuki Jimny. Nice LCD screen, but the only problem is you've got to press this disclaimer, which is often on when you're driving, which might have some legal ramifications, but is not really good for safety. But really good map on here. Interior is lovely, decked out. Love the aircraft style keys. Loads of space. First thing I noticed on the new Landtrek is a proper steel bash plate Land Rover. You might learn something there. It's not a difficult thing to do. You can see underneath here, pretty simple, basic, utilitarian. So in my mind, they've mixed some of the French flair with the Chinese, you could say slightly old school technology on the chassis, and they've got quite a compelling package for 600,000 rand. I mean, Cinnamon likes it. And another one of the first things I noticed was Goodyear Wrangler tires on here. I mean, you can see this was designed for the South African market, which is a big bakkie market, and they've got one of the most highly rated off-road tires in the game on here. Not the best, but above average. Great combination for road and off-road. So you can have confidence taking this truck out of the box into the bush. And it's got an 80-litre fuel tank, which gives you over 700 k's range. So they got you covered on that front. Nice big disc brakes on the front, which is always good to see. Really does cut a nice line. And proper, one of the more solid OEM running board step plates that I've seen, with actual rubber on here to put your foot on, which I thought was quite a nice touch. In terms of the interior, good leg room, loads of space for king and country. In terms of the load bay, quite big actually. You can fit a dog or 3 in here, no problem. With a 1.9 litre engine, you're not going to be doing big towing with this. It doesn't feel underpowered, unloaded, but I feel that they should bring the 2.5 litre diesel version here as well for some people that are looking to take heavier loads. But it actually feels a little bit more perky than the Isuzu 1.9 I drove in the D-Max. So you wouldn't think it's a 1.9 when you first get in here, and this front grille looks really good. It's Been getting a lot of looks around town for good reason, because it does cut a hell of a line. You see what proper tackies does to a car. You know, this is what Ford's missing out on. They put highway Continentals on most of their trucks. You know, slap the Goodyears on, or the General Grabbers. Good tires. All the new BF Goodrich trails look good. BF Goodrich, hook me up. I need a set for the X Trail to review. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. In terms of the exterior of the car, it's pretty. I'm actually surprised I haven't sold more. This is just over 600,000 Rand for the 4x4 version. And it is a lot of car for your money. I will say the downsides, the driving experience, the suspension is really hard. I'd say that's probably the part I'm least impressed with on this vehicle, is the suspension. I thought it was going to be the engine, but the engine's actually good. It's the suspension. It feels like a Chinese suspension. I don't want that to come off the wrong way, but there's a difference in quality sometimes. And the interior of the car feels Peugeot, it feels European chic, but that suspension, well, we're going to test it on the off-road track at Elgin. We're going to go with Shauno in his new Jimny, and it's actually going to be a good benchmark for this truck of its off-road ability up against the Jimny. So in terms of on-road ability, here's the industry standard speed hump test. Should give you an insight into the... It actually wasn't too bad. I think it just needed to get loosened up on the gravel a bit there. Let's try this speed hump. No, it's alright. It's alright. So I don't even know if you need to change the suspension. I'll just maybe run the tires at 2-bar. You'll be fine, because they got the Goodyear Wranglers on here, so they put proper tires on. I would like to get one of these for a long-term review, just to see what the build quality is like. So in terms of road manners, I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10. It's got good brakes, good acceleration, comfortable inside here. I would like a bit more space or a bit of padding on the side here. 2 USB ports, strong air conditioning, really good. I love this. The sat nav on this is better than any of the Japanese ones. It's as good as being in a $1 million German luxury car. It just takes a little while to load. And one thing I don't like about modern cars is they ask you to do this disclaimer. So if I'm busy driving and I have to press the OK button, that's going to be an issue. They've got various map modes. You got the overview, and then you can zoom in like that, so you get a real sense of the peripheral road. So if you're new to an area or you're exploring, it really is one of the best maps I've seen. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Good solid 8.5 out of 10 for the Peugeot Landtrek. I understand why, you know, I still don't know if it's good enough to be in the top 2 bakkies in South Africa to go through the car of the year, but it's not a travesty. This is a good, honest bakkie with a lot of boxes ticked. So good luck for the car of the year, Peugeot Landtrek. Look forward to getting one of these for a long-term review. It feels well made, so you're not taking a big risk on this, and it's just a shade over 600,000 Rand for 4-wheel drive, fun and adventure. And Peugeot's got a decent dealer network, and one hopes that the parts are readily available. Those are the sort of things you need to look into, but overall, a lot of fun. It's got a bit of perk when you put your foot in. More than enough power for regular use. So we'll catch you next time on Africa Sideways. Another thing I like about this car is the fact that it doesn't beep a lot. It's not a big beeper, which I really appreciate. I think if it had been a fully Chinese car, it would have beeped a lot more, and it would have had some more gimmicky sort of assists that don't quite work yet. But this is actually quite a good combination, and if the Chinese side of the partnership can get their bit right, because Renault's got their bit right with this, the interior is Peugeot's got it right with this interior. It is really, really on point. If the mechanics can hold up on this, this is really going to be a challenge. Because it can challenge on price, it can challenge on looks, it can challenge on off-road ability, it can certainly challenge on fuel efficiency. This will have any of the other bakkies on fuel efficiency, perhaps. But I don't know if it's going to have it, but it's certainly up there. So it is a compelling package, and once again, time will tell, ladies and gentlemen. This car does get a lot of looks when you're driving down the road. People are interested in it, and given the interest, I'm surprised there haven't been more people buying it. Sort of single figure sales figures at times, and not breaking the top 50 cars sold in South Africa. But it's a compelling package, and for me, it feels better made than the P series, in my opinion. It's not quite Toyota Hilux level yet, but it's not that far off. It's not that far off. Put a bigger engine in here, perhaps upgrade the suspension. You could actually do a great off-road sort of Raptor version of this with a 2.5 litre engine, tune it up a bit, put 33s on, terrain tamer suspension, and Bob's your auntie. So Peugeot, if you need any help with that, always here for you. Out.